Okay, this guy has a problem with a couple of the carbs not getting gas. So that could be a number of things that I'm going to have to check. It's going to be the float needles, float settings, plugged up, fuel line. It could be a lot of things. Looking at this, how clean these are, I don't think it's any of those. If they're running really lean, but they're running with some fuel, it could be these. Right here, your mixture screws, or a broken mixture screw. That's what these are famous for, having broken mixture screws. Or it could be your accelerator pump's working fine on this one, but not, these two, or, so forth. Right here are your spray nozzles. These are your spray nozzles. Right here. That's a spray nozzle. Okay? If those are plugged up, it'll be running lean and sluggish. And hard to start, too. They're really hard to start. That's kind of like a spray in there before you put your choke on. Pump it a couple times. Spray some fuel in there, raw gas. Okay. Now that we're done talking about that, let's take these out and see what we got. Please, 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 please. No broken needles. Okay, that needle's good. That doesn't mean that there isn't a broken needle in there. So we'll check that too from the prior owner. Usually it does though, because they'll bend. If you see a bent needle, sometimes they'll bend if something's stuck in there. Or so far so good, man. I feel like I'm on a game show right now. Will it be bent? Will it be missing? Good. Okay. Might be able to just, these are come out pretty easy. I love these carbs though. They're one of my favorite carbs, the RS carbs. I won't say they're the best carb on the planet, but for the new guy that's going to get out there that doesn't know a lot about carbs, but he's a really good mechanic, these are the carbs to get, or a CR carb. CR carbs are phenomenal, okay? They have a better mid-range, better driving around town, basic carburetor for the regular rider. These right here are better for the track, in my opinion, as far as wide open throttle and drag racing. That's just my opinion. I think they have a better wide open throttle and a quicker response throttle. Like, I've heard them run on the same bike and they just scream. They open up and they're just like, wow, scream. Awesome carburetors. They sound just like that. Okay. So now, wow, those are tight. We'll take all these screws out. All the screws are out. Another thing that you want to take attention to is where these are all at. About, see the gap. So when you go to put these back together, you want to make sure you put these brackets back the way they're supposed to go. That way you don't have anything jamming up. Everything's still smooth, and you won't have any issues when he goes to put them on his bike. Here you go, guys. We're going to look in here. I haven't looked in here yet, so this is a surprise for all of us. Ta-da! Well, I can tell you right now they're fairly clean. That's just kind of residual from sitting bone dry. These sat bone dry, okay? And this is what happens. Things will shrink, not work so well. That looks to be working. That one looks like it's probably plugged up. You want to take attention to detail when you pull these apart and just kind of look around, and you can almost tell where to go to right away. Although I will be going through all of them. But it's just cool to know, you know, what was the problem, especially when you're talking to the customer. He wants to know what you found. I don't see any varnish or anything that would gum up anything real bad. And there's some dirt, a little bit. Pretty normal. I've seen worse RS34s though, I mean in bad shape, that were just running awesome on a drag bike. So, I mean these carbs are phenomenal for that. They'll just still go, still run. And that looks like it hasn't been messed with. Usually, a lot of the times, guys will cut this rod because they want to get a certain adjustment out of them, which they don't get out of this, I guess. I don't know why they cut them. But I've seen quite a few. Maybe on a drag bike, they want it to kick in a little later. This is a dual feed system. You have a fuel line that hooks up here, a fuel line that hooks up there. I'm going to be looking at all this when I pull them apart because something's plugging them up. I mean, these all look... This one's kind of iffy. I got all new float needles and seats and everything, so it's going to be all brand new. But the springback seems pretty good on those. He'll be getting all of his old pieces back too. I always give the old pieces back to the guys, the screws, the jets, floats, anything that we change out. Other than O-rings, I don't think anybody wants to keep their old O-rings. Needles, throttle needles, like main jet needles, whatever you want to call it. All the springs look really good on this too. Okay, well, maybe we'll find it. Find out what's going on here. Okay, I think I might have found the culprit. This one's plugged up here with some dirt and grime that came in. Probably from a dirty gas tank or something, but yeah, this one here is plugged up too pretty bad. A lot worse than the other one. So that's why it was sluggish. He wasn't getting that punch. They all look like they're pretty dirty, but these two over here are really plugged. The two first ones. We're going to remove all these jets right here. These are the main jet. Okay. That's where the throttle slide and needle comes down inside here. Actually, more in here. There's an emulsion tube behind here. This sucks in fuel, and fuel and air actually mixes within this emulsion tube, and it sprays out inside here. As the needle lifts, more fuel comes through here. This is mainly for your... This is a pilot jet. This is starting off and idle. Maybe a little bit of mid because it's still spraying when this one opens. But this is mainly mid-range and high-range right here. This is kind of odd to me, and I thought I would share this. The RS34 carburetor is the main jet that goes into this tube right here. Usually this is an emulsion tube and it has a bunch of holes in it. On this carburetor it has no holes, but the pilot jet does. And what that does is it sucks in air through those holes right there as it's shooting fuel into it, and the air and fuel meet and they just kind of do a mixture. And usually these have them. This one does not. I just thought that was odd. The RS34 doesn't. Okay, now I'm going to take apart the tops. You want to be careful to keep them at this angle right here so you're not rusting them on the bottom, because you don't want to bend the floats or the needles. Something that I wanted to add to the video. All these right here are adjustments to adjust the slide in here for when you're doing bench sinking. This is what you want to pay attention to. And if the carb already runs great, like say it came off someone's dragster or a street bike, and they said, hey, these run great, I just want to get them cleaned and, you know, rebuilt, but they ran great when I took them off the bike, you want to leave these alone and set them back where they were. Also, this right here, you want to put that back where it was. This controls the amount that the pump can go down. This is what kind of adjusts it. Okay, this kind of shows it a little better. See this right here? It's not center, and it's got a mark on it right there. So you turn it to adjust the height, and when this is screwed down in there, you adjust it right here. That adjusts the height, raises and lowers it. These right here are literally almost welded on. I mean, they're just, someone just tightened them down as tight as they could get, and then they sat for a long time, and it's an old set of carburetors, so they're almost impossible to get out. So what I do is I use this stuff right here, put it on the screws, let it sit. Then I use this screwdriver here. This is a vessel screwdriver. Then I get a wrench and put on the flat area right here as it's in here. And then you put your wrench on here and turn, and it'll pop it free almost always. So you don't have to use impact screwdrivers on carburetors. And I don't like using them also because I've seen so many times where this is cracked or this is cracked, you know, and it just breaks and destroys things on bodies. And once the aluminum is broken, it's trash. I mean, it's really hard to repair. Some people can repair them, but most of the time they're trash. So this is what I'm talking about. See that? Just breaks them free. It's not always that easy, but boom. This is something I wanted to show you guys when you're doing this right here. A lot of the times, go like you're tightening it. Don't try to don't try to actually turn it, but let's just say, you know, it won't move at all when you try to loosen it. Go the opposite direction of loosening, go tighten, and then go back and loosen it, and it'll pop free. See? There's one right there, see what I mean? So you want to go tight, kinda. Don't try to strip it, just kind of give it a little wiggle. And then, see, it still doesn't want to. Boom. See that? Thought it was going to make me a liar. There you go. Okay, these are my punches. Love them. My little punch hammer. That's all you should hit them. You should not hit them any harder than that. The only way you should is if it's been bent or, you know, improperly installed or super crusty. And then you'll have to add more oil, but you really shouldn't have to hit them harder than that right there. That's why I use this little dowel hammer. Works amazing. Okay, right here, there's a spring and a BB that goes in there, a very small little steel BB for the choke. And there's one right here also. And when you put it back in, you got to line it up with the marks too. Because the BB and the spring push in here, and it locks the choke. So when you pull the choke open, it locks. When you push it back in, it kind of locks it in place. So you need those Otherwise you'll have no choke. The choke will keep going in. When you pull it out, it'll go back in. This is your spring and your BB. Very, very small. The spring goes in first and the BB goes on top of it. This carburetor, the main carburetor, I usually leave it all together because there's no reason not to. You got all the O-rings and everything else and all the seals already taken apart when you separate all the carburetors. And the only time you ever really want to remove this and all this stuff right here is if the felt rods are trash. Right here, these are your felt rod seals. This one, they're like brand spanking new. If they look like that, you do not want to change them. These look like they have never been replaced because usually there's dings all the way around here where they take them out, press them back in, and then you ding the metal right around here to hold the seal back in. And I make my own wool felts to go in here usually. If you can't buy them, I make them. Mainly for the 29mm smooth bores and these carburetors right here, I make them because they're hard to find. It's hard to find parts for these RS carburetors and the smooth bores. Always remove the chokes. Otherwise what happens is when you wash them in your ultrasonic cleaner, a lot of the times these seize up. And when this seizes up, they're almost impossible to get out. You have to oil them and let them sit for several days. Then they'll pop loose. These are extremely clean, beautiful chokes, and they worked beautifully. So I want them to stay that way. So remove them. Now this is the ultrasonic clean. I add a few drops of Dawn dish soap and about, I'd say, a half cup of pine sol, and then the rest is warm water. And we use warm water because it helps break free all the grease and rust and dust and all the nasty stuff that's inside the carburetors or on the surface. Right now I'm going to turn it on and you guys are going to hear it. It's pretty loud and obnoxious, but just so you can get the idea of when it starts to work and how the water will actually cloud up because it's removing all the sediment. Turn the heater on this to about 47 degrees Celsius and put this on for 30 minutes. Pine sol looks amazing. Okay, if anybody says I've tried everything, simple green, I have a jug of simple green down there, but I use pine sol. Simple green is more expensive. I use simple green for certain things though. All the brass, all the the jets and stuff like that. The stainless steel, springs, stuff like that. I use simple green. I soak them in it. And then rinse them off and wipe them off and stuff. Gauge the jets, make sure that they're still good. Anyway, here you go.